Eating from your own garden is a fantastic way to save money, boost nutrition, and of course, it tastes great. So why not plant right outside the kitchen door for even greater convenience? The Cook's Garden on this edition of Great Gardening, straight ahead.
Once the plant is infected, there really isn't anything you can do about it.
The root flare is right along here, so we want to make sure that's below ground level.
Watermelons, muskmelons.
This is yellow or gray coneflower.
This one's called Picasso in pink.
Hello and welcome to Great Gardening. I'm Pamela Fish. It is so good to be welcoming back our garden experts after a week off because of very ungarden-like weather. Tom Casper is the president of the Duluth Garden Flower Society, staying warm, and Bob Olin is a state and county educator and horticulturist. And thanks, guys, for making the effort to come in through the snow.
Our pleasure. You know, we needed moisture, and you got to be careful what you ask for sometimes.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, and a lot of people have asked, is this live? And it is live. We came through the snowstorm to get here.
Which is why we weren't here last week,
right,
because there was another snowstorm a week ago. Well, we'll get to more of that and more of looking forward to getting beyond the snowstorms, but we want to also welcome back our phone volunteers because we did have two of them make their way in tonight through the snow from the St. Louis County Master Gardeners. They're here to answer your called-in questions, so please give them a call at 218-788-2844. It's not too early to be thinking about garden questions, or you can call toll-free, that number on your screen. Also, we can take your questions by email, and you can email askgreatgardening@wdse.org. So get those questions ready because we're getting ready for them. I don't know how much you've been thinking about gardening. I would imagine you've still been thinking a lot about it, but it's a little bit painful.
It is, but we all know, having lived here for a while, spring is going to come. Yes. Of course, last year, tulips were already in bloom, and I don't want to remind people of that, but we're going to get to spring, and it's going to be glorious like every spring in the Northland is.
And
so.
You know what they do say, Tom? They say April snow makes things grow.
I like that one. There's a positive way to look at it.
Only in Duluth.
Only in Duluth they say it.
Yeah.
But it's what we need to say, and we are going to be talking about some of the things we're looking forward to in the garden season. Tonight we're talking kitchen gardens. And last summer, some of the master gardeners from St. Louis County had a friendly competition out at Glensheen in Duluth to come up with the best example of a kitchen garden. Here are some of their ideas.
The idea was that we would have all sorts of different greens, partly because they're so easy to prepare and partly because they're so healthy and partly because you can just pick them and eat them. So then we started adding some other things to the garden that you can just pick and eat. In fact, almost nothing in our garden needs to be cooked at all. So if you had little kids, they could just wander through the garden, pick a pea, eat the pea, pick a carrot, eat the carrot.
Our whole premise was the idea of a single mom having a backyard garden. And she has a couple kids, so she wants to keep them interested in helping and working in the garden and then eating the vegetables. So we came up with the idea of a Crayola garden, Crayola crayons, to have a garden reflect the colors that you get in a crayon box, and that way also you would have a real balanced nutrition because different colored vegetables give a lot of nutrition, and it's very well balanced diet. So we put in tomatoes and pumpkins and carrots, Swiss chard, which is purple. We put in black zucchini, a summer squash, and yellow summer squash, and a lot of, and several varieties of beets.
Salads through the seasons, and most of the time in the salad section at the supermarket, veggies are pretty expensive. Grow your own, it's pretty economical, and besides that, in a salad, you can meet a real lot of your nutritional needs just in a salad. You not only have salad veggies from lettuces to potatoes and root vegetables, but we also have herbs for seasoning. I think Master Gardening is all about not only sharing our the knowledge we gain from each other, but the experiences also, and not only with each other, but with the public.
That's really a great point, and why the Master Gardeners do projects like this.
Right. The whole idea is to be able to grow it and ultimately to eat it. We've got to get beyond just the joy of growing it, but joy of actually consuming it and making it convenient for people. And then the University of Minnesota St. Louis County Master Gardeners do such a great job of sharing their knowledge with the public.
So the joy of consumption.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. Of nutritious fruits and vegetables, yes.
Some of us eat to live, but some of us live to eat, like myself. And did you have a winner in that competition, or was it just something that everybody was using their creativity?
You know, they were all winners. You see, I guess that's the politically correct thing to say.
Everybody got a trophy.
They did a nice job. All of them.
Did.
A lot of creativity there. You know, the greens, the salads for all season, the Crayola garden. Lots of real good ideas that came from that.
Yeah, great ideas. And we will have another really fine example of a kitchen garden coming up later in the show. Okay, but last week when we got snowed out, we did have a great show ready for our viewers, and our topic was summer bulbs, which are a wonderful way to add color and dimension to the garden later in the season. So here is Tom's tip on summer bulbs.
We're going to talk about summer bulbs, and by summer bulbs meaning bulbs we plant in the spring or early summer that aren't hardy for our region. So by that, it means for them to survive, we really have to remove them in the fall. We also have to care for them over the winter. A refrigerator or something like that where you can control the temperature. You don't want them to freeze. 32 to 40 degrees where they can sit throughout the winter is perfect. Checking them once a month to make sure they're moist but not too moist. You can put them in a loose peat moss, a sphagnum peat moss. You can put them in perlite, something like that that's going to keep a little bit of moisture around them, but not a lot. They're too much moisture and they're going to rot on you. So these are gladiolas, been around a long time. Some people would call them funeral flowers, but they have really gained a lot of interest again for folks. So here we already have a little bit of growth coming on it, so we're going to need to get these planted relatively soon or cooled down so they slow that growth. Gladiolas you want to plant with the bottom down about 5 inches deep. And one of the reasons you do that is you really, because they're very top heavy, you want that bulb securely in the ground so it really roots well, so those stalks or the flower stakes don't tip over as they get larger. I like to plant them nice and close together. Rather than planting them in a row, so it looks like a picket fence, I plant my gladiolas in clusters. So you may do 5 or 7 within just an inch or 2 of each other in a grouping, and then you get this nice, beautiful spray of gladiolas in the summertime. So we're going to talk about dahlias. This one needs a little bit of care before we plant it. You can actually see that it's gotten a little warm and it's sent out some growth already. In this case, we're going to remove that because that's just not going to work. And then you can go in, you inspect the root, and what you're looking for, you give them a little squeeze. You want to make sure that they're nice and firm, turgid. If any of them are broke off, you want to gently prune them or cleanly prune them. Plant that on a slight little mound so you have these roots spreading out around the plant, and we'll want to plant that about 3 inches deep. So when you're ready to put it out, and dahlias you can actually start in containers and move out, get them up and growing, and then move them into the garden when chance of frost is diminished. Cannas have been around a long time, and a lot of development into new and interesting varieties, so you can get them from white to almost black in flower color. Beautiful, tall accent plants in the garden, and a lot of interest in them lately. And this is very similar to dahlias. We want to go in and kind of clean up some of maybe the stuff that's broken or not really part of the growth of it. We'll want to make sure that we, of course, plant with the root side down and pull those out a little bit. And similar to a dahlia, you sort of want to put that on a perch, so to speak, in the planting area. So we'll want to put that about the same depth, 3 to 4 inches deep, placing in your soil. And cannas, like dahlias, you can start inside to get them going to really get that jump. And then it's a matter of getting a good soil around that. Watering it, if it's in the container, get it into a sunny spot, get it warm, get it up and growing, and that's going to give you that advantage in the spring when you get ready to put those out.
Great ideas for planting those. And here are a couple others that intrigued us. Our floor director and photographer, Judy, has planted these before, the Gladiolus murale, if I'm saying that right.
Sounds
and
right.
They're very fragrant and beautiful. And then another one that doesn't flower but is a really popular one is the Caladium.
Right, yeah, and Caladium are a wonderful sort of is grown for the foliage and the beautiful colors you see here. White and green, you can get them all the way to almost a black and red leaf on them. Very, very stunning, and should be started early if you really want some size on them in containers. So.
And when they go out, where do you plant them, in sun or shade? Or
They don't like a lot of sun.
Okay.
I mean, they like a sort of, if you're going to get
like
morning.
a coleus sort of?
Yeah, if you're
type?
going to get sun, it should be in the morning on them.
Okay. We're getting questions in, so let's get to those. Someone's asking about seeds starting under lights with the soil mix. They have white mold on those. What do they do about that, and is it harmful?
Could be. It's an indication that they've got too much moisture and temperatures are a little cool.
Okay.
So I think I would look for a little bit warmer spot. I'd try to get a little bit more air movement, maybe even a fan on a real slow level there, and then they should be okay. It should not be.
Do you think they should start over then? I mean, if they're really seeing that kind of stuff on their soil?
You know, the white molds aren't as bad. The ones that are really damaging, you don't even see. They're destroying the roots. So on the surface, I'm not quite as concerned, but it does indicate that we really have got a little too much moisture and a little bit too cool a temperature. So
Scrape it off?
you could if you want, but you don't want to interfere with your seedlings that are emerging.
Oh,
so
sure.
I would just,
Okay.
there still might be time to do some replanting if it's impacting the actual plants themselves. That's what's the important thing.
Another question about starting seeds, and how long should I delay starting seeds because of the weather?
There's a tricky one here
Yeah.
because everyone's saying the spring's never going to come, but actually the calendar's marching along. So you want to stay pretty much to your seeding schedule because this could change in a week or 10
Right.
days, and so don't delay too much longer. You still have plenty of opportunities, opportunity to plant a lot of the vegetable crops in particular.
And that's exactly right. And really, we are going to get back to a normal spring. And our gardeners that are doing their seeds really need to pay attention to that calendar. And those,
Yeah.
if the stuff is going out in 6 weeks, need to plan for it to go out in 6 weeks. So.
All right.
Because we're optimists, and in
That's
6
right.
weeks, 6 weeks from now, we're going to have
We're gonna
glorious
be-
warm weather.
Yeah, we're going to be in shorts.
Now, people concerned too about plant material that they have asparagus plants. This person, Tim from Minot, I believe, purchased these asparagus plants and obviously can't put them out. Will they keep, and what do I need to do with them?
Boy, there's another good question. I think people are faced with this. You want to keep them cool, but you don't want to have them moist. So cool and dry in the refrigerator, perhaps with, we've got some desiccants. You can make a pillow out of evaporated milk, or powdered milk rather, powdered milk to suck up some of the moisture. Cool and dry and hold them. And you know, it's kind of interesting. People have been snow blowing athletic fields. They've been snow blowing tennis courts. There may even be some folks out there snow blowing the garden just to get things moving along a little bit.
And similar
Don't
to
tell
what,
me we have to resort to that.
and similar with what we talked about with summer bulbs, in the refrigerator rather than the freezer. They don't want to freeze them. So.
Right.
But something to pull out the extra moisture, maybe in a crisper or something. We really don't want any moisture on these. We want to keep them dry. The worst thing you could do is to add water to some of these and get that growth process started.
Okay. Okay. What causes fruit, pumpkins and squash to fall off when they're in size? Oh, the fruit of the pumpkin and squash to fall off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it can happen. They can certainly abort for one reason or another for poor development, and that can be caused by a number of things. If you've actually got a full-size fruit that's developed, then it's probably moisture, it's nutrition, it's one thing or another. But prior to that, we'll see a lot of immature fruit that actually abort and fall off because the fertilization process hasn't been complete. So with a lot of our the vine crops in particular, and we talk about pollinators, how it's important to have plenty of insect pollinators available. You can also tease them a little bit and cross a little bit of the pollen yourself, but oftentimes that's incomplete fertilization that causes that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll check in for more questions later, and we do have a few more here. But right now, we want to take a look at some inspiration from a gardener in Superior who has a real talent with water features.
My name is Jim Ball. I live in Superior, Wisconsin, right on Highway 2 across from Barker's Island. I raised bed gardens with railroad ties, kind of all around the house and the yard, kind of bordered it, and then brought in a lot of dirt. Then I'd start picking up plants here and there, and there's nothing exotic in my garden. It's pretty much run-of-the-mill stuff. Probably anyone who's into gardening at all would know the names of a lot of the stuff that I have, because like I said, it's just regular stuff that you see. There's nothing extraordinary about it, but that's part of the fun of gardening. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get into gardening. I really like the sound of water. I'm near a real busy highway, and it kind of muffles that highway noise that I get, and I just find the sound of running water a real relaxing feature to be around. They're really so simple to do, and I think some people are afraid of water features, thinking that it's a lot of work and it's hard to keep up, but I don't find it to be hard at all. I just have a molded plastic pond that I got at a discount place, and then I had some pond liner that I had bought, and I just created a hill and put the pond liner down, and then you just start placing some rocks until you get it to kind of the way you like it, and you plant the plants, and at first, you know, it doesn't look like a lot because it takes some time for the plants to grow, but after a while it looks nice. This was one that I did. Again, it's very simple. I just tiered some railroad ties and put some dirt in, and then I had a little round pond that I picked up somewhere, and then a little molded part of a waterfall thing that I didn't like the whole thing, so I just cut a piece of it, stuck it up there, and it's just a simple recirculating pump. And I do clean them out about 3 times in the summer. I only have fish in this one. Then I did this one over here in the corner, and that's one that I think looks more woodsy and more shade oriented. It's got a lot of ferns that I dug up out just, you know, for free out in the woods, and stuck them in, and everything's a little overgrown right now, but it does reach a point when it's growing where everything looks real proportional and then it continues to grow and looks a little jungle-ish. Just a real low maintenance, not a real big tree. Provides just a little bit of shade for that area, and just I think a real attractive, it's kind of a nice accent for that area. I got this thing about birdhouses. I have old rusted stuff that I picked up. This is the kind of old rusty stuff I like to find if I can pick it up cheap. Some Shasta daisies there and a lot of the tiger lilies. I think they add a lot of little interesting photographic features or just points of interest as you walk around the garden to see that. So, and last year I put in some raised beds in my vegetable garden. I really think that's the way to go if you don't have a lot of property. It's kind of a harsh spot here because we get so much wind off of the bay, but it is protected with that fence, so that kind of helps. I love the view. I love looking out at the water.
It was a real treat to tour Jim's garden last summer, wasn't it?
What a blast, and such great gardeners, and so much success, and like he was mentioning, right there on Highway 2 and the bay.
Exactly.
And
there are some conditions to deal with there.
And just a beautiful little escape. Outstanding.
Yeah.
I just have to emphasize a small amount of space done well, and what a great hobby gardening can be.
Absolutely.
Adds so much to the pleasure of living in a location like that.
Yeah, I could mow his backyard in like a minute and a half. I love that.
Well, speaking of garden tours, we want to let our viewers know that our Bayfield Spring Garden Bus Tour is just a month away. Can you believe that? And really, they're looking for their bulbs to come up. They have a lot of beautiful spring flowers that come up in the Bayfield area. And we're going to take a busload of people and head out that way again as we did last year. We have a trip over to Madeline Island, a trip to Hauser's, which is in Bayfield, and that's a wonderful greenhouse where you can get bare root stock. So if you want to know more about that, here are the numbers to call, or you can go to our website and join us on the Bayfield Garden Tour.
I have to admit, I was a little scared when the bus drove onto the ferry. I haven't ever experienced anything like that.
No, I hadn't either. But it was nice to be sitting there because we had a little rain at that point.
Yeah, just in case.
All right. Well, we hope that you can join us, and if you can, please give a call. And please keep calling in those questions because they're coming in, and we're providing the answers here. This is kind of an interesting one from Laura in Duluth. She talks about apple trees, and have you ever heard of injecting them to prevent fire blight?
There are some different products out. Generally, an injection system like that is done by a certified applicator, so she'd want to really look for something like that. There is a product, J.J. Moget makes a product. They have a product that is used for Dutch elm disease and bronze birch borer on birch trees years ago, birch leaf miner, things like that that really need to get into the system. So there are products out there like that that she can look for, but generally done with a certified pesticide
something you wouldn't want to
applicator.
try yourself.
And I think right now, fire blight, which is a bacterial infection, which is typically controlled by one of the antibiotics, streptomycin or a generic form, there's quite a bit of controversy because there's concern about over-application of antibiotics into the environment.
Right.
So apples now are under a little bit of scrutiny as well. So I think people want to be very concerned about how close you plant those trees. You want to separate the trees out. You want to be pruning while they're dormant. And that's something people could be doing right now. That's one benefit
Get your
of delayed.
snow boots on.
Get your snowshoes on.
And
maybe.
get out there and prune.
Yes,
Start to
no
prune.
shoes probably.
But actually, you want to prune before the buds break because that minimizes this pressure from bacterial infection.
Okay.
Rather than going to injections, rather than going to antibiotics, prune them and separate them out, and so there's good air movement to prevent disease.
And
All
get it
right.
done very, very soon if she's going to do it, or for any folks that are going to go out and prune, do it now before it gets too late for the year. So.
All right, we have a question from Lakeside. Have you ever heard of a tomato called yellow gold? And if so, where would you find them? It's yellow with pink blush and it's sweet.
Well, there are several local garden centers are selling the seeds for that. I don't know if any local ones have it growing as a plant, but I do know that several of them have seeds available. So if she wanted to start it from seed, we're right at that ideal time to do that right now, or coming up on that, and she could get started on it and have those herself. So may not be available locally in the garden centers as a plant, but certainly a seed. So.
Okay, this is from Janet in Zim, and she says, I'm moving in the spring. Can I prune small bushes to fix in the pot? To put in a pot? Fit in a pot. Oh, can I prune the small bushes, fit them in a pot, and then move them?
She should be
Sure,
have pretty
sure.
good
Okay,
success
I
with that.
think
Yeah.
that's what
You want to keep the roots moist, and if she uses something like a moist bark or something with it, and so many of these shrubs are cut-back shrubs, deciduous shrubs, so she can cut them back and then protect the roots and move them. They should transplant very well.
Very resilient, most shrubs.
Okay,
So.
great. Let's see, this question's about a geranium that has wintered and now it's kind of leggy, so how do I get it to bloom again?
Well, actually, the best time to have done that would have been in March, to cut it way back and then allow that new growth. So probably going to lose some of that, but she could clean up some of that leggy stuff. It's going to re-sprout for her, but really ideally should have been done in March.
Okay.
What people can do with geraniums, Tom, don't you think? Anything she prunes back now is going to flower very late in the season. So
Yeah.
buy some new material that was grown in the greenhouse. It'll bloom early, and then this kind of material can still bloom later in the season.
Yep.
One more quick question, because I know you guys have a quick answer for this one. Bonnie in Duluth wants to know, how high must a fence be to keep deer out of the garden?
We're not sure.
Well, right now they can walk right over the fence
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the snow is as high as the fence. No, I'm sorry.
The rule of thumb, if you got a large area to fence, is to go 8 feet.
8 feet, okay.
Yeah, because they will clear even up to 9 feet. But smaller areas, the smaller the area, the shorter the fence. So if in fact you've got an area that's maybe 20 by 20, maybe a 5-foot fence would do it.
All right. Well, time to move on now, and again we want to talk about the idea of a kitchen garden because it is so valuable for many reasons. Here now is a really lovely one in Solway Township, just outside of Duluth.
Our garden used to be a couple hundred feet from the house, and this is just so much more convenient. Plus, we wanted to experiment with this microclimate. This particular garden faces both south and west, so it's a really nice spot in the spring. So we have greens by the first part of May, which is really nice. So this spot, which has had greens in it twice, and then finally it just gets too hot, we just plant other crops in here. So this is a real nice space for sun and warmth. The brick really retains a lot of heat. So we will go through about the second week in October here without a frost. So essentially being in this space extends our gardening about a month on both ends. When we just want to make some dinner quick, we just come out here and get what we need and we're all set. And for us, I mean, there's just the two of us now. It's just a really nice size. But we like a lot of variety. We try to sort of group things together in a little bit of a design pattern, like peppers with basil. They really like to grow together. One of the things I really like to do too is mix flowers in. We really have to work hard to attract pollinators here. And so try to plant different colors, different kinds of flowers to get the bees to come in here. We garden organically here, no chemicals of any kind, and so that means we have to hand pick bugs. And eggplants really are attractors of potato bugs. So you can see they look a little ratty, but you know, we keep picking off the bugs and we're gonna have great eggplants this year, just fabulous. Gives us enough stuff to eat all the time and then some stuff for preserving. You know, there's a lot of basil out here, we make pesto, freeze it, some things like that. But mainly this is a fresh eating garden. A garden, kind of a garden to table concept.
Well, full disclosure, Candy's my sister-in-law, married to my brother Paul, and they've always had enviable gardens. Beautiful. And this is really a great example.
We should raid that garden this
Yeah,
summer.
I know. They do wonderful, and we want to thank them for the tour. But finally tonight we want to tell you about an effort underway to make fresh, locally grown vegetables available to those in need. And Bob, you're involved in this. This is something that's growing for a cause going on.
Yeah, I have to give Doug Hoffbauer a lot of credit for this idea, and we're going to be, actually we're growing out some of the seedlings now. We're looking for additional growers who would like to participate, and they'll be supplied with seedlings, but the whole idea is the fresh product's going to be delivered to second harvest. So we
Okay, that's a great idea. And please check the website and or else email Doug about that. Also, we want to quickly mention the Spring Garden Extravaganza that's coming up.
Coming up in Hermantown, as well as on the range.
What else you got to do on Saturday?
That's
so
right.
Go to a garden seminar.
It's going to be beautiful.
All right, and please check our website for information on that and more about what's going on in gardening. We want to, of course, thank our experts for being here. Thanks you guys so much for coming in the snow and for sharing your garden wisdom with us. And thank you to our volunteers. And thank you to all of the people who called in with their questions. From all of us here at Great Gardening, thanks for watching. Good night.